Perrin, Beatty, President and CEO of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, and welcome to the Business of Business. Throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, we'll be having a series of conversations with business leaders, government officials, and other experts with regard to the impact of COVID-19 on Canadian businesses. We're extremely fortunate today to have Lissa Ricci. Now, Lissa has been sales leader for small business solutions for CISCO Canada, and she's been in the sales field for some 16 years. So she's exceptionally well qualified to talk to us today about some of the challenges facing Canadian businesses. She's based in Toronto, and Lissa, we're delighted to have you here with us today.
Thank you so much, Perrin. I really appreciate you having me.
So CISCO itself is faced with the same challenges as other businesses are, and that's how do we manage remotely during the pandemic? You're leading a team as well. How are you managing throughout the pandemic to be able to communicate with your team and for your team to continue to do its job?
Sure. Yeah, it's a great question. Perrin, while the physical location in which we work may have changed, I really believe it's important to maintain some structure and some routine. So right off the bat, communication has to be key. So get in front of your team and start laying out what your expectations are of them, even though they're working remotely and not necessarily face-to-face in the office. So for me, that includes weekly one-on-ones with my direct reports. And then we also do a team call, which we have it as the numbers call. And then we do another team call every week. And it's a little bit more fun. It's more for updates, sharing best practices. And as a result of COVID, we've actually kind of added some unique activities where we're doing virtual cooking challenges. So this way we can include the children or your partners, and we've been having so much fun with it. We actually have dinner together as a team with our families, and we talk about the meals that we made. And it's been a great way to keep our morale and our rapport alive and well during the pandemic.
You've been able to discover everybody's dogs and cats and what sort of books they have in their bookcases as well.
Absolutely. My kids walk by and see my screen, and then they'll be like, "Oh, hey!" Like they know everybody now in their faces. So,
Definitely a very different working environment for all of us to be operating in. How's it worked so far?
So, on this topic, I really think it's important to take care of our people and nurture relationships among the team. So remote workers, in my history of managing field teams, I've heard things like they feel like they miss out on team building activities. They can feel stranded or alone on an island. I feel like I'm the only one in my territory that knows, my business and how to run my business. So I really encourage my managers to get involved and be a true team player, regardless of where we're located. Know your local competition, who the partners are, who other customers are, get to know the client, be aware of newsworthy topics within that region. The more informed you are as a leader, then you are actually bringing value to your team. And that really goes a long way with retaining your team. And one thing I'll add, Perrin, is that it can easily be forgotten is professional development. So I really try to make this a top priority with my team. So for that, one thing we've come up with for during the isolation period is we hold bi-weekly talks in which I introduce an individual from somewhere else in the organization to speak about their career journey, their ambitions. And being in such a large organization like CISCO, we have the opportunity to interact with people from all over the world. So we have people from Australia and New York and India and more.
How do you deal with issues like life-work balance for your employees? We're all living over the store today. And as people have pointed out, weekends and weekdays have tended to meld together, and work days and nights have melded together. How do you ensure that there's still some work-life balance there?
Yeah, I think it's important to really genuinely let your team know that you understand that the family is going to come first, especially for those parents that are two working parents with younger kids at home and the homeschooling and all that goes on with that. Really show that you appreciate that. I personally try to let my team know, look, even if I send you a note, I don't expect an answer right away. I understand, right? If I need something super critical, then I'll make sure I put like 911 in the subject or something like that. But otherwise, I'm not judging. You need to take care of the family unit first and foremost. And everybody will always get the job done at the end of the day, right? So just make sure that you're doing it the best way you can, relieve that stress, because nobody needs any more additional panic right now. So that's one way for sure.
We're all working online, and one of the issues, obviously, that comes up as you begin to work remotely is the issue of computer security. We've all seen, we're regularly receiving phishing emails and other attempts to get into systems, and people are trying to exploit the pandemic. For Cisco, this is particularly important in terms of being able to maintain security. What are best practices? How do you try to ensure that you can still maintain security while working remotely?
Yeah, Perrin, it's so true, and it's such a shame, but unfortunately, there are lots of hackers out there looking to take advantage of the sudden shift to virtual communication. And in some cases, in a lot of cases, actually, they've been quite successful. So we've all seen the news stories, and as scary as it is when you're using video conferencing apps for personal use and chatting with friends and having virtual happy hours, the stakes aren't really as high. But when it comes to important meetings, which I'm sure you can attest to, the ones we have for professional purposes every day, security has to be the number one priority. So we're really lucky with Cisco because we make WebEx and we use it every day. And WebEx has robust security built in from the start. So it's not something that we added as an afterthought or as a response to COVID. So we don't worry about our eavesdroppers or our bombers on our calls or in our data. Remote working has been a standard way of doing business at Cisco for a long time. So I'm really encouraged to see more companies moving in this direction. It's been somewhat forced by the circumstances, but my hope is that eventually, secure remote work is as easy and seamless for every company, just as it is for us at Cisco.
At Cisco, are people using their own personal equipment, or are they using corporate equipment now as they're operating from home? How do you ensure that you maintain that sort of security on equipment?
Yeah, it's a great question, Parent. Look, the reality is that they are using both, right? They're going in and doing going onto personal websites while on a work device, and vice versa. So we did have to go and really make sure that we're being secure in our network from that perspective, as a response to this at Cisco. Because it's realistic, right? We understand that that's going to happen. You're working from home and you have a work laptop, or you have your perhaps your DX80 video conferencing unit, and we are very realistic that our coworkers are going to use personal time on these company devices, and that's okay. So we did respond to that to make sure that we are still a secure organization.
You're a sales leader for small business solutions at Cisco, and you're an experienced salesperson with 16 years of experience, and you're leading a team. And your customer base is small businesses. These are people who are hurting today. It's a very tough time, but business has to go on. How do you reconcile the job of continuing to be in sales at the same time as you're dealing with people whose businesses are in very serious difficulties? Must be an enormous challenge in itself.
Perrin, our hearts go out to every small business that is struggling, and our first instinct is to help. We've seen the challenges up close in the businesses that we work with. Many of them are trying to migrate to remote work or re-engineer their business model to e-commerce or virtual service. This can just be so daunting, I imagine, but we have also seen the benefit of the right strategy and the right investment. So then we can kind of share best practice and see where we can scale some of those amazing ideas and concepts that we're coming across, right? So to be successful, you have to meet the customer where they are and understand their business journey, what their long-term goals are, how they're pivoting as a result of the COVID situation. And then we can think about how technology might be able to support their growth ambitions. And to be honest with you, Perrin, that's always been our goal. And that conversation has not changed as a result of COVID. We were still having those same similar conversations, before. It's just about, the environment that you're in as a salesperson. So in my opinion, everybody needs to keep selling. I just don't think we need to be afraid to be salespeople. We all need to be picking up the phone and asking customers simple questions. How is your business doing? What are some creative ways they're working to keep their business strong? And if you have something to offer that you know a small business can use to help carry them through this time, then you shouldn't feel awkward about it, right? It's just imperative that we approach the conversation with tact and with empathy, and understand when to position an appropriate solution and when to give the customer space.
And I think it's clear as well that what's absolutely critical during this period is that we need to be very close to our customers and our members and our colleagues. It's even more important during the pandemic that we do that than in ordinary times. And certainly for many small businesses across the country, if CISCO or others who are listening to this webcast have solutions which will be helpful to assist these companies in coming back successfully, that's something that's very positive, and it's a major plus for these companies as opposed to being an intrusion at this point. The key is to understand the difference.
Absolutely. I mean, we need to be thinking about how do we help small businesses to survive this, right? And again, I'm going to say it again, wearing my sales hat, but small businesses need to keep selling too, right? Sell your products, sell your services. Think about how can you remain relevant during isolation. Just in my own community here, Perrin, I tell you, I've seen so many creative ways that the small businesses have generated revenues from creating like a digital customer experience. And I would say now is the time to implement your digital marketing strategy. It works. Like I am still shopping. So really assess, what kind of a service or offer you can bundle up to make it more palatable for your customer to consume during this time. And personally, I'm constantly thinking about my customer's customer and how we choose to show up as an organization.
And that's precisely what successful salespeople do. They think beyond the sale itself to how, in fact, can we solve problems and be of assistance to people we're serving. I want to wrap up, I want to come back to a point that we were discussing earlier, and that is the issue of people's mental health. Um, it's no longer a snow day that we have. This is, we don't know what the new normal is going to look like. We don't know how long the lockdown is going to exist. And we're starting to see that the mental strain and pressures that people are suffering from growing. That's both our employees, our customers, the general public. And this is a concern that we're going to continue to have as long as the pandemic is among us. Obviously, this is an issue that you as an executive have to wrestle with, but also that CISCO as a company and that all of us have to be concerned about, both for our employees and for our customers and for the general public. You mentioned some of the things that you're doing in terms of working with your own staff and in terms of how you try to ensure work-life balance, but maybe we can drill down a little bit further on that. In dealing with issues related to mental health, what sort of best practices have you learned about, and what is CISCO doing both internally and in the community to try to contribute?
Thank you so much for acknowledging that, Perrin. I really do appreciate it. This is a very passionate topic for myself and for CISCO as an organization. So I appreciate the opportunity to share with you some of these things. So CISCO as an organization prioritizes mental health for their employees as a standard part of our corporate responsibility. And that's, been happening for years. I personally would like to mention how I'm very impressed with how the leadership of CISCO has addressed this pandemic. Communication, empathy, resources, support have been absolutely remarkable. And that's from a global perspective. Here in Canada, we've mobilized our teams to support a number of not-for-profits, including CAMH, Connected North, Food Banks Canada, Kids Help Phone, Jack.org, and Wood Green Community Services. As a segment leader for small business, from the moment we were sent home, Perrin, I began working on a plan addressing how CISCO will support the mental strength of Canada's small business owners, operators, and their employees. And I really want to stress the mental strength, right? Because it's a strain, like as you mentioned, that's a lot. If you're a small business owner, you're keeping the lights on, you're trying to grow, and then all of a sudden, boom, overnight, everyone is sent home. That's a big strain. So we really took the approach of how can we help with mental strength. So I'm very proud to say that we were able to rapidly partner with an organization called Life Recovery Program. This company is based out of Waterloo, Ontario. What I liked about LRP is number one, they are a small business themselves. So I wanted to support that. And number two, they have an award-winning online mental strength support platform called Inward Strong. This is available 24/7. It's ready to help individuals from the comfort of their own homes straight away. So in partnership with Women of Influence and the BDC, we are sponsoring a 3-part webinar series focused on mental strength for entrepreneurs and small business owners, operators. And CISCO recognizes that small businesses are immediately impacted by isolation, causing increased pressures, anxieties, and stress. So we really want to do something to support those who could use some additional professional support through this. So I'm really delighted to say that we are funding 3-month subscriptions to the Inward Strong program for anyone who wants to take advantage. We're doing this because mental care is so personalized. To just say we'll do a webinar and that will be helpful and effective isn't really fair. People need some more individual connection, right? So this is your opportunity to keep your money where you need it in your business. CISCO will pick up the bill and the tab, and we would like to make sure that you have a 3-month really strong support opportunity for your mental strength. And I will just end on the note again, praising CISCO, that I couldn't be more impressed with CISCO's reaction when I brought this proposal forward. The exact words were, "Oh, we are doing this because it's just the right thing to do." So really proud of CISCO and to be a part of the team.
That's spectacular. Tell us about eligibility. Is it open to any small business, and how do people apply for it?
Absolutely. We will be sharing the link that you can click on. It's anonymous, and once you get onto there, right on the landing page, it will show you exactly what code you can enter, and then you will have your free 3 months. There's no credit card required to enter or anything.
Lissa, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for the leadership that you're showing, that CISCO's showing. I guess we've all heard the slogan that we're all in this together. And what CISCO's demonstrating here is that it believes that, and that by working together, we can overcome the challenges that we're facing, whether in business or mental health challenges and others. We'll do it one step at a time together.